people don't understand why these people would just make up these claims.
Do you know that before Melania Trump, there were Ivana and Marla Maples?
In fact, their union was so controversial that even today, whenever Marla's name comes up, it's impossible not to recall the shocking details surrounding their split. Back then, the rumors were unbelievable. And after 2 decades, Marla finally confirmed what many had long suspected. But what really happened between them? Why did their marriage last only 6 years? Stick around as we dive into their story. Did you know Marla Maples entered Trump's life and started dating him while he was still married to his first wife, Ivana Trump? The actress and model from Georgia began her relationship with Donald Trump in the late 1980s, and their romance was anything but discreet. Not only was their relationship controversial, but it was also entirely out in the open. Even worse, it was highlighted in the media, captivating public attention. How could such blatant infidelity be so public? Their affair lasted over 4 years, with even a brief breakup before Trump finally decided to divorce Ivana in 1990. On February 16, 1990, while Trump was still married to Ivana, a bombshell headline hit the front page of the New York Post. The article claimed Marla had confided to friends that the most intimate moments of her life were with Donald Trump. Naturally, this statement caused a media frenzy. For weeks, this story dominated New York tabloids, overshadowing even major events like Nelson Mandela's release or the bankruptcy of Drexel Burnham Lambert. But that wasn't the worst of it. In December 1989, Ivana and Marla came face to face for the first time under scandalous circumstances. Trump and his family were on a ski vacation in Aspen, Colorado. But secretly, he had also arranged for Marla, his mistress, to be there. That's how Marla and Ivana crossed paths. In her book Raising Trump, Ivana recounts this surreal encounter. She explains how a young blonde woman approached her confidently and said, "I'm Marla, and I love your husband. Do you?" Shocked and furious, Ivana simply responded, "Get lost. I love my husband." A brutal exchange, but in such a situation, who wouldn't react that way? This confrontation was a turning point for Ivana. She now knew her marriage was doomed. And she was right. 2 months later, in February 1990, Donald Trump officially filed for divorce. One might think that after Ivana's departure, Trump and Marla would live happily ever after. Yet, that wasn't the case. They married in December 1993, but cracks quickly began to show in their union. For years later, they separated, and 2 years after that, the divorce was finalized. But why? Marla eventually revealed the real reasons behind their breakup. Donald Trump and Marla Maples' wedding was a grand event held at the Plaza Hotel in New York, a property owned by Trump himself. Over 1,000 guests attended, including celebrities and influential business figures. Yet, from the very start, this marriage was doomed to fail. If Marla claimed that their marriage suffered from issues beyond their control, several clues suggest that both played active roles in the downfall of their relationship. In fact, many were surprised that Trump chose to marry Marla, especially after his tumultuous divorce from Ivana. That divorce involved negotiations over 4 successive prenuptial agreements and turned into a full-blown media war. For 11 consecutive days, the New York press made it front-page news, and the renowned journalist Liz Smith even dedicated 3 entire months to covering the story. But that was just the beginning. The divorce was finalized in December 1990, but there was a catch. Ivana had to sign a non-disclosure agreement as part of the divorce settlement. She was also required to get Trump's permission before publicly discussing their failed marriage. Despite this, Ivana secured a settlement that included $14 million, a 45-room mansion in Connecticut, an apartment at Trump Plaza, and the use of Mar-a-Lago, one of Trump's luxurious properties, for 1 month per year. So, when Trump decided to settle down with Marla, he did everything possible to avoid reliving such a scenario. Even before the wedding, he made her sign an extremely strict prenuptial agreement. Years later, details of this contract were leaked, revealing that Trump had agreed to pay Marla only $1 million if they separated within the first 5 years, plus another $1 million for the purchase of a house. This may seem like a significant amount, but in comparison, his first wife, Ivana, received over $25 million in cash and assets. This is where things get interesting. Just months after their lavish wedding at the Plaza Hotel, Marla hinted in a Vanity Fair interview that she was pressured into signing this contract. In her own words, "The prenuptial agreement was a battle from start to finish, and I only agreed to it thinking we could renegotiate later. But that never happened." This revelation made headlines, leading many to suspect that their marriage was built on shaky ground. A celebrity divorce lawyer even told People magazine, "I can't imagine greater pressure than a pregnant woman being told, 'I'll only marry you if you sign.' What was she supposed to do? If he'd handed her a random piece of paper, she probably would have signed it, don't you think?" This contract undoubtedly weakened their relationship, particularly because it was clear Trump was more concerned about protecting his wealth than building a marriage based on trust. But that wasn't the only problematic clause. The contract also stated that Trump would provide child support for their daughter, Tiffany Trump, until she turned 21, but this would end if Tiffany got a full-time job, joined the military, or enlisted in the Peace Corps. Speaking of Tiffany, her arrival was a key factor in Trump's decision to marry Marla. It was only after their daughter was born that he finally proposed. Marla even claimed that the Long Island Railroad tragedy on December 7, 1993, made him realize what truly mattered in life, leading to his decision to marry her. This might sound romantic, but the events leading up to Tiffany's birth were far from it. Apparently, when Trump found out Marla was pregnant, his first words were, "Excuse me? What happened?" During an interview on the Howard Stern show, Trump reflected on his reaction to Marla's pregnancy. "I'm glad it happened. I have a great daughter, Tiffany. But at the time, it was more like, 'Excuse me? What happened? I didn't know about this.' Then I asked, 'What are we going to do about this?' It was only when Marla responded, 'Are you serious? This is the happiest day of our lives,' that he eventually said, 'Oh, great.' Not exactly the most enthusiastic response, right? As you can imagine, this reaction must have been very painful for Marla. It also shows that, at that moment, Trump was not considering marriage or having more children. But beyond these tensions, there were much deeper reasons for the end of their marriage. According to Marla, their separation was mainly due to the fact that they were two completely different people whose values became incompatible over time. It's worth noting that there was a 17-year age gap between them, and they came from entirely different backgrounds. On one side, Trump grew up in Queens, New York, in a wealthy and ambitious family. The divorce was ultimately finalized in December 1990, but there was a catch. Ivana had to sign a non-disclosure agreement as a condition of the divorce settlement. Additionally, she had to get Trump's approval before publicly discussing their failed marriage. In return, Ivana received a financial settlement that included $14 million, a 45-room mansion in Connecticut, an apartment at Trump Plaza, and the right to use Mar-a-Lago, a luxurious estate owned by Trump, for 1 month each year. So, when Trump decided to remarry Marla, he took precautions to avoid reliving a similar situation. Before the ceremony, he made her sign an extremely strict prenuptial agreement. A few years later, details of the contract were leaked, revealing that Trump had agreed to give Marla only $1 million if they separated within the first 5 years of their marriage, plus another $1 million to buy a house. This may sound generous, but in comparison, his first wife Ivana received over $25 million in cash and assets. This is where things get interesting. Just a few months after their lavish wedding at the Plaza Hotel, Marla hinted in a Vanity Fair interview that she might have been pressured into signing the contract. In her own words, "The prenuptial agreement was the big battle from the start. I agreed to it thinking we'd revise it later, but that never happened." This revelation made headlines and fueled speculation about the fragile foundations of their marriage. A celebrity divorce lawyer told People magazine, "I can't imagine greater pressure than a pregnant woman being told, 'I'll only marry you if you sign.' What was she supposed to do? If they had handed her a dry cleaning ticket, she probably would have signed it, don't you think?" This contract was bound to create doubts for Marla, especially since it was clear that Trump feared she might be with him only for his money. This prenuptial agreement dealt a serious blow to the foundations of their marriage. But that wasn't all. The contract details also revealed that Trump agreed to pay child support for their daughter, Tiffany Trump, until she turned 21. However, this support would immediately end if Tiffany got a full-time job, joined the military, or enlisted in the Peace Corps. Speaking of Tiffany, did you know that her birth was a key factor in Trump's decision to marry Marla? It was only after she was born that Trump proposed to Marla. Marla also claimed that the Long Island Railroad tragedy on December 7, 1993, made Trump reevaluate his life and what truly mattered to him, leading to the marriage proposal. While this may sound romantic, the events leading up to Tiffany's birth were far from it. Apparently, when Trump learned that Marla was pregnant, his first reaction was, "Excuse me, what?" During an interview on the Howard Stern show, Trump reflected on that moment by saying, "I'm glad it happened. I have a wonderful daughter, Tiffany. But at the time, it was more like, 'Excuse me, what happened? I didn't know about this.' And then I asked, 'What are we going to do about it?' Marla had to respond, shocked, 'Are you serious? This is the happiest day of our lives.' For him to finally reply, in a rather unenthusiastic tone, 'Oh, great.' It's easy to imagine that this wasn't pleasant for Marla to hear. More importantly, it showed that at that moment, Trump wasn't thinking about marriage or children. While these events contributed to the failure of their union, they were just the tip of the iceberg. Much deeper issues led to the end of their marriage. Marla revealed that their marriage failed because they were simply too different. At some point, their values became incompatible. It's important to remember that Marla and Trump had a 17-year age gap and came from completely different backgrounds. Trump, born in Queens, New York, grew up in a wealthy, ambitious family. His father, Fred Trump, was a real estate mogul who raised him in an environment where success, competition, and power were the main priorities. On the other hand, Marla grew up in Cayuga, a small rural town in Georgia, in a modest and deeply religious family. She was raised with values of faith, kindness, and community. Their differences went beyond their childhoods. They eventually influenced their priorities. Marla explained that this was the root of their problems. "Donald and I came from two completely different worlds. I wanted a partner who could truly see me and support me emotionally, but Donald was often consumed by his empire, his image, and his ambitions. It quickly became clear that we were living parallel lives, not a shared one." At that time, Trump was completely absorbed in his business, leaving little room for compromise or joint plans. Having already experienced marriage and fatherhood with Ivana, he saw his children as a responsibility, but his business always took precedence. This deeply frustrated Marla, who felt alone and misunderstood. After several years of disillusionment, they decided to separate. Marla admitted that in a marriage, spouses hope to lift each other up, but after years together, she and Trump realized they were only drifting apart. They separated in 1997, and their divorce was finalized in 1999. In an interview, Marla described their relationship as often contentious. As you can imagine, there were tensions because I came from a background that valued family and spiritual growth, while he was focused on success and money. When asked what attracted her to Trump, she said she saw a certain vulnerability in him, which created an instant connection, as if they had known each other before. Marla also admitted to a mistake she made. Young women in their 20s always want to change the man they love to make him more tender. I was like that at first, but I eventually learned to express myself more and stand up for my values. However, their differences in values weren't the only reason for their divorce. An explosive scandal erupted shortly before their separation. One of the biggest scandals involving the couple centered around Marla and one of Trump's bodyguards. In 1996, rumors circulated that a security officer had caught Marla late at night on a beach at Mar-a-Lago with another man. That man was identified as Spencer Wagner, a bodyguard. Strangely, Trump fired him 4 months after the incident. And that's when everything changed, because after his dismissal, Wagner drastically changed his story. He revealed that he and Marla were kissing on the beach when they were caught. In fact, his exact words were, "Our passion got out of hand, and we were swept away by love." However, Wagner's ex-wife, Mary Miller, claimed that in private conversations, he always insisted that he never cheated on Marla. Miller told reporters that her ex-husband had confided in her that Marla was simply uncontrollable, and that was why they had become so close. Miller also claimed that Wagner told her that sometimes Marla tried to lure him into a room in the house, and was persistent. That's not all. According to Miller, Wagner had also said that Marla loved to party too much, and whenever she came to the property in Florida, she would go from one party to the next. Unfortunately, all this controversy had disastrous consequences for Wagner. In addition to being at the center of media attention because of the alleged affair, he said he struggled to find work after Trump fired him, which deeply affected him. His ex-wife, Mary Miller, also stated that the negative press and lack of professional opportunities devastated him. On January 1, 2012, he died from a drug overdose. Miller said, "He wasn't that kind of man. He wasn't a womanizer at all. And because of all of this, he never truly recovered from the scandal." The drama didn't end there, as the year after the incident, Trump and Marla officially separated, and 2 years later, their divorce was finalized. According to some rumors, despite his denials, Trump was furious about the bad publicity, which put a strain on their marriage. This situation also worsened the trust issues that were already present between them. These tensions were exacerbated by several factors. First, the fact that Trump and Marla began their relationship while he was still married to Ivana only fueled the controversy. The media were curious to see if their marriage would last. As one might expect, when a relationship begins with betrayal, it's hard to be completely certain of the other's loyalty. Many wondered if Trump and Marla could really trust each other. To make matters worse, Trump had a reputation as a playboy and was often seen with other women. This fueled constant rumors of infidelity, which quickly became exhausting for both partners. After their divorce, Marla gradually withdrew from the media scene to focus on raising their daughter, Tiffany. She also pursued various projects, including in film, hosting TV shows, and promoting wellness and spirituality. She often expressed how much being a mother was the most important thing in her life. As for Trump, he continued to expand his business empire and brand. In 2005, he married Melania Naus, a Slovenian model, with whom he had a son, Baron. In the end, it's clear that the marriage between Marla Maples and Donald Trump ended because of a volatile mix of rumors of infidelity, media pressure, and totally incompatible life views. What do you think truly caused the end of Marla Maples and Donald Trump's marriage? Share your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to watch the next video that's showing on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.